Alrighty, guys, welcome back, and the League of Inches crew is here, and back-to-back videos. First time I've done that in a while, and there's a lot of talking points. And honestly, if you're watching via the video, we will apologise straight up. Sid looks like he's on an island getaway, and a retreat.
It looks like he's hiding in some bushes.
Are you wanted and on the run, Sid? How are you?
I was living with this girl and I had to move because she found out I was there. Then I'm in the backyard, man. Just chilling, ready to go. Mate, this Rickys Stewart thing, can't wait to get to it.
Yeah, look, before we get to that, there's a few things. I just want to say hi to Jason and commiserations because it's official. The Bulldogs can't mathematically make the 8 anymore. So, how's it been being a Bulldog supporter this year?
Man, it's been up and down, but like, to be honest with you, I'm pretty happy with how they've come along throughout the year. You know, it was pretty disappointing at the start of the year with the people that they had on the field and that, and they've turned it around. So it's looking promising for next year, hopefully.
Yeah, I must agree. It's been ever since Potter got there. I think a lot of people scratch their heads with that appointment, but I'll tell you what, he's done some wonders to that side. Boys, straight away, we normally always get something out happening when something that caught our eye each week. And Sid, I'll go to you first and just see over the weekend if a certain headline, try and avoid the Ricky saga. We'll get to that. What caught your eye over the weekend?
Well, that's a great point you make. Because of the whole Ricky thing, you almost forget there was actually 7 other games of football. Look, I thought there was 2 things that stuck out. Panthers performing to their system without their 2 halves. That was surprising. Surprised a lot of people, including Ricky. And the other one was Newcastle actually played football and won a game. That was very surprising.
Yeah, Jace, what about yourself? What caught your eye over the weekend?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely the Panthers. You know, a lot of people wrote them off, saying Cleary's gone until come semis, and LOI as well. So a lot of people wrote them off with these makeshift halves they have. Salmon filling in at half, normally playing back row or out in the centres sometimes, and a lot of people don't have much in attack. But they came out against a Canberra side that have been pretty strong the last couple of weeks, and to put 20 plus points on them was a pretty good effort.
Yeah, no, I agree with that statement. For mine, boys, I think it's I'll give myself a little bit of a pat on the back here.
Hang on, Sid's on the run. He's on the move.
I'm already, we're 2 minutes in. I couldn't be bothered holding my phone anymore, so I just went and got a chair to put it up. There we go.
Oh, there he's back. Just myself. I think it's the Broncos for mine, and not for a good thing either. I just think there's some really worrying signs there for the Broncos. They've obviously probably overachieved this year, but with the way they were sort of playing their footy, I think the last couple of weeks, and mainly against the Roosters on Thursday, which seems like 2 weeks ago now, I just think they were pretty poor. Weren't the Broncos what we know? I know Carrigan's a big loss for them, but he's gone for another couple of weeks. And I tell you what, if they continue this downward spiral, they could be at risk of getting leapfrogged a fair few positions and being at risk of making the 8 or getting a good position for finals. So for the Broncos, I just think they've got an easier game this week. They've really got to put their foot down and really beat the Knights and get a bit of confidence. But look, boys, we've held off enough, and I know Sid's boiling to talk about this. We'll see what he has to say. The Ricky Stewart outburst, I think anyone out there in a rugby league fan watching this, listening to this, knows exactly what's happened. And weak gutted dog is what has been said. And I'll tell you what, it's a pretty serious allegation. And I sort of laugh at it now because that's all you can do. You've heard it that much. And I'm just sort of gobsmacked that a first grade coach has come out and said this about something that happened 11 years ago, but I'll get to my point of it afterwards. Sid, I know you can't wait. What you say?
Oh, look, I just want to shed some insight on a number of things that may or may not have come across your desk. You guys may not have read about. and I'll stick to some points here. One, Ricky Stewart. Was a couple of weeks ago. I was watching NRL 360, and Mick Ennis, you know how he spent some time last year on the coaching staff at Canberra. He said Ricky Stewart would always ask to be second on the press conference, and he'd always push for it. And you'll notice that he was first, and we know he was first because Cleary was asked about the comment. Ivan Cleary, that is. So he was definitely first. And Ricky Stewart, in a lot of cases, after losses in particular, he would actually find a broom closet and lock himself in. And people go, "Where is he? Where is he?" They're ringing him. He just, and just to make sure that he could cool down, before he would talk to the media. And the media, the opposite. They want to catch the coaches as early as possible to get that big headline. That's one thing. The other thing I've read, but I don't know if it's true. That Salmon, the whole Salmon thing with his son, with Stewart's son, about. Apparently, he gave him a what they call a coward punch during the game because they played in the juniors together, and then obviously Stewart's got some animosity there, and apparently also Stewart has a disabled daughter, and Salmon said something or did something to her or teased her or whatever. So that's another reason for the animosity. And the last thing I want to say is, just as a life lesson, Stewart's a perfect example of this. I always say, composure is your best asset. He's full of anger. He's full of emotion. He's seen his season fall apart, playing a depleted side. Great opportunity. They score the first try. They get ahead, and they still lose. And he didn't have the composure to hold himself. I think credit to him, he didn't swear. There was no profanities, but it's just the opposite of professionalism. And you're already seeing now the NRL is going to come down on him hard.
Yeah, well, it's already been confirmed. I think he's got a 1 match suspension now, and I think a 20K fine. So I'm a bit confused whether Sid's for or against here. So we'll let him have a bit of a break. And Jace, what about yourself? I know you got a Canberra sort of household in there, the misso, and what obviously been a talking point, no doubt, for you guys. What's your thoughts on this matter?
Look, I didn't know about all that stuff from the past. With it's I'd probably hold a grudge too. If he'd said something about a child of mine that had a disability. But in terms of that situation, that game, that moment, like for him to call him a weak gutted dog, I thought it was a bit over the top because if you watch the replay, Salmon had someone across his chest and couldn't really see who was in front of him. It's not like he tried to kick Starling in the head on purpose. So I think he was a bit over the top. And like Sid said, he had no composure. He saw red and Stewart just let rip. He's never one to mix his words. So if he seemed like he meant it when he said it. So he's copped the ban. So now he's just got to compose himself and go again next game that he's back. So it's a shame to see. I loved Ricky Stewart as a player, but seeing him as a coach nowadays, he's still got that competitive fire, and you can see he's backing his players. But to go that far and call someone a weak gutted dog when it wasn't deliberate, I think it's a bit over the top.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why. I just find it so funny. What the thing with Ricky, why I'm laughing so much, he just has a way with his words, and weak gutted dog just doesn't seem to work. And it's like when he did that last year when he about the texters. I've received 50,000 texters over the last week about. He just has a way with his words, and I just find it so funny. He gets so boiled up with his own thoughts, and he just explodes, and he just has no way of controlling what he's saying at times. I think we can all agree it was not the right thing to say and not the right place. I think, and I've heard this and I agree. I think if he was still holding a grudge about it, approach him in the sheds or something. There's not many people that can go underneath the tunnel and see what happens. So there might be a couple, but it'll just be a Chinese whispers type scenario, and it won't be anywhere near as bad as what has happened now. He'd still be coaching. He's not allowed to be around the club for the next week now, so he's not allowed to be anywhere near it. He's not allowed to, apparently not allowed to be communicating, but we all know that's probably going to happen still. So, but my thing with the timing of it is the Raiders' season was sort of on the line. For mine, I think they could afford that loss still and still make the 8. I think they're going to go on a run here. But it's funny that they lost a game, and we've seen this with Ricky in the past. He'll find a way to take the pressure off the players and the media off the playing group and the poor performances and put it back onto himself. Now, I don't know if he meant to say the words that he said, but I have a feeling no matter what happened that press conference, he would have found a way to make it about Ricky Stewart, not about the Raiders and the players. Because let's be honest here, I think if it was any other coach at the moment who's just coached a side who made the grand final 2 years ago and has now failed to make the finals really for 2 years on the trot, it's pretty poor record. I don't think many coaches would have survived that. And I think because Ricky Stewart has so many friends in the media, it's helped him a bit. So, Jace, should there be more pressure on Ricky Stewart moving forward? Is the next month of football do or die for Ricky Stewart?
Yeah, I think this season that the outcome, like, there's still a chance of making the 8. They've got a pretty easy run into the finals if they do make it. I'm pretty sure all teams they play from here on in are all bottom 8 teams. So they got a good chance of making it. And they're only 2 points behind the Dragons and Roosters, I think. Or Roosters, sorry.
Yeah.
Only 2 points behind Roosters. So, I'm not sure about the Roosters run, but there's still a chance of making it. If they miss out on the 8, I think Ricky Stewart's job will be under a fair bit of pressure, I think.
Roosters have a pretty hard run in, so I can see Roosters maybe dropping 2 at the moment. It's going to be a really tight run home. And one thing for sure is the Raiders have the bye this week. They've got the Dragons. So, Sid, what do you make about? Does Ricky have a lot of pressure in the next once he comes back for the last 3 games? Is he coaching for his future?
Look, I feel like he's another Paul McGregor. He's just unsackable. The guy needs to damn near stab somebody to get sacked. They just love him so much. It's not going to happen.
Wait. You just said him again. You need to have a vodka shot or something because that. How have you managed to bring in? Oh wow! Continue. That's just.
He goes to Parramatta and Parramatta loses 7 out of 8 games. He goes to New South Wales and they lose the Origin. McGregor. What a loser. Anyways, go. Jason's like, is this guy serious? Can hold a grudge, eh?
Yeah, you and Ricky should go for a beer.
Ricky, is that you?
McGregor, you're weak cutted dog.
What do you think though, Sid? Do you think it's a tactic from Ricky Stewart you're thinking, or where is he at with it? Because I just think he gets so protected by the media, Ricky Stewart, that if any other coach I feel like made these comments, there'd be a lot more said about it than what has been said about it.
I think the fact that it's missing a shock factor because he does it so regularly.
Yeah,
maybe that's why it loses its sting. And the media like him because it's like stray cats going to a house that throws away leftover barbecue regularly. They like him because they can go to him for a headline. That's why they like him.
Yeah, well, we're gone from the Raiders, who are in a fight at the moment to make the 8, to a team that it looks most probable now they've got the wooden spoon. They'll finish last this year. I don't know if they'll win another game, to be perfectly honest. And it's a team that I think all of us had them in maybe 8, if not right on the edge of it at the start of the year. And I think it's fair to say they've been the biggest disappointments of the year. When you look at other clubs like the Tigers, that no one really thought they were going to do much. They really didn't live up to much anyway. But the Titans, for mine, they went one pass. It was just a draw and pass. They beat the Roosters, get to the next week of finals last year. They're that far off finals football at the moment. It's not funny. I think there's some serious worries at the Titans at the moment, and I don't think it's the coach. I think there's some serious playing issues at that club. That the loss of Jamal Fogarty has proved to be massive, and they never replaced him. Jace, what's happened to the Titans this year? What can you put it on?
Man, yeah, I have to agree with you. I think it comes down to the players. Seeing them on paper, they've got a pretty decent side on paper, but they can't seem to put it together on the field. Whether there's some, infighting in the club, players thinking that they're better than they really are, not buying into the team systems. They've got a fairly decent crop of juniors coming through and young players, that are there that can definitely have a crack at the starting squad. But for some reason,
I'm not too sure what's happened here.
Joe's stunned. Joe's stunned
Yeah.
with your comment.
Oh, no, we're back on. Sorry about that, guys. We had some connection issues for some reason there.
You were stunned.
The internet just completely dropped out. I'm just thinking, hang on. No, back to what Jason saying about the young talent.
I thought Joel was just sitting there going,
No,
dare you?
Couldn't believe. I don't know what
I
happened.
was just saying, look, they got a good crop of juniors, good crop of young fellas that are coming through that can play first grade. They got a great team on paper, but for some reason they can't put it together on the field. I really don't think it's the coaching staff. I think there might be a bit of infighting amongst players thinking that they're better than they really are, not buying into the team systems.
They're in desperate need for Kieran Foran to get there ASAP. I think they need that experienced figure at the club. Now, I don't think necessarily Foran is the right man for it, but they need that figure there. And I think he's just going to have to do for the next year or two to get that stability back in that club in terms of some direction. It looks like they've got too many young players in those key positions, and it's just not working. And you sort of look at the hooker position as well.
Also, for me, like I was saying, I really don't think they have. They have one leader, which is Tino, and he leads on the field. But I think off the field, they don't have a leadership group. Like you look at their former captain; he's been sacked.
Yeah.
Their former captain has been sacked for vaping in the toilets. And that's not his only indiscretion. Like he's been filmed doing coke, all that kind of stuff. Like this. But I just don't think they have any leadership off the field.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think, and the big danger at the moment for the Titans is they're in a spot where there's another new Queensland team coming in next year with the Dolphins. The hype's going to be about the Dolphins. Everyone's going to be looking at the Dolphins. The Gold Coast are in a massive predicament at the moment. They're in a big hole because they need to get the next 3 years right, and they're in desperate need to get these next 3 years right because they could fall right behind, and it could get to a scary part where the NRL goes, it's just not working here on the Gold Coast. But in saying that, they've got a really good junior system in place up on the Gold Coast. I know that they've got some really good youngsters coming through. Sid, we talk whenever we talk about the Titans and the issues. The one player who always gets mentioned and sort of carries the burden because of the price tag he's on is David Fafita. I think hindsight says they've got it wrong with the signing simply because they haven't got bang for buck. But at the same time, he probably carried him last year. Got him to the finals he was scoring 2 tries a game at some points there, but this year, for whatever reason, it's the same as the team. He's just sort of gone completely off. He's lucky to be making the bench for mine. Where's the Titans at with Fafita? Like, I don't know where they can go. Maybe Foran will help next year, but I don't know.
Man, you got to remember he got that knee injury, and that can impact anyone. And you're seeing that now. He's struggling to break tackles. He's also got something of a second-year syndrome. I know it's not his second year, but given the year he had last year, I mean, 2 hat-tricks from a second rower, that's ridiculous, That's Menzies numbers right there, And yeah, he's struggling a little bit. And also teams are not trying. Last year, I found they were trying to smash him, and this year they're not. They're trying to get at least 3 players to grab him at the same time, so they can't shrug him off. You're seeing that a lot. They're just hugging him, and it's proving enough to stifle him. The other thing is Titans just don't use it. It's disgusting. The way they spread the ball, they just every single guy from the dummy half to the half back to the 5'8" to whoever, whether it's the second row or the centre, they're standing still when they receive the ball. Whereas last year they were running onto it. The other thing that affected them is definitely the no more 6 mores up until the 40-metre line, because they had good ruck speed, and then got teams going backwards, and then they had lots of guys that could cause dramas. They had the rotation of Fogarty, you mentioned him. I mean, Ash Taylor, he had a couple of good games, even though he was largely a fail. And the other unsung hero I thought last year was really good, I had him on the Supercoach team, was Tyrone Roberts. And I think he's in the squad. He's in the 30-man squad at Brisbane now. But he was good. He's one of those players that isn't quite physically gifted, but knows rugby league, and he plugged a lot of gaps for him. And they got rid of those guys and left Sexton and AJ to rotate the halves, and I think one other player. It just doesn't work for them, as you guys said. They've got some good players. Fafita did go backwards. I thought Brian Kelly went backwards as well. Patrick Herbeck's a solid player. The wingers are good. Like Jason said, they've got good players. It's just not happening for them this year. It's just a write-off. And to come last is a disgrace, really.
Yeah, I think as well now, moving forward, we've mentioned the foreign signing, which I think will help. But I think after that next year, Fafita's finally off contract and they get rid of that burden financially, and they can actually sign maybe another gun in the halves. For mine, I'd be going hard. I don't know why they haven't been mentioned for this yet. If I was at Titans, I'd be going hard for Munster. I think Munster's the exact person they need for 2024 and beyond to help get that club back to where it needs to go. And the other one I'd look at, if we couldn't get him, would be Sam Walker at the Roosters. I think he's a Queensland boy, born and bred. There's no doubt eventually he's going to be up here playing for a Queensland club. And I don't think there's any reason why the Titans aren't saying these are the 2 that I need to go for. Jace, is there anyone out there you reckon the Titans should be looking at trying to go hard to get this club back? And another reason to get the fans excited, because you walk around the Gold Coast, which me and you regularly do, and it's dead like a funeral up here. No one talks footy at all.
Yeah, I agree. You're 100% right. They need to target a marquee half, whoever that might be. They desperately need one. I think moving Brimson to 5'8", he's got a great running game, but that's about it. But it's tough. They leave Brimson, in the halves. Then they have Campbell out the back, and if you move Brimson back to fullback, then I don't think Campbell's really a half, and you don't. That's just the player wasted. Like, that's more strike that you've left out if you don't put Campbell in the team. But they really need to go for a half. Definitely, there's just Toby Sexton, I think he's going to learn a lot next year with Foran being there. So it'll be interesting to see how his game comes along with Foran there with him. After that, if his game does not evolve, then they definitely need to target a half.
I agree, and there's no disrespect, nothing on Sexton at the moment. I think there's a time and place for young halves in certain teams and clubs, and at the moment, the Titans are screaming for experience over inexperience, especially in those halves where they've got a young fullback already, they've got a young hooker, so they definitely need some sort of. And I've heard whispers that they're looking at signing Verrills from the Roosters, and I think that'd be a huge signing. That's someone they need, just a bit of quality in that around the ruck area. But boys, I wanted to talk a bit of successful clubs at the moment. We haven't spoken about much of that tonight, but the top 4 teams that we think can take out this premiership. And Sid, I'll start with you, and I'll start you off. I reckon you're going to be going the Panthers. So there's one of your top 4. Where are your other clubs coming from? And can you see any of the next three beating the Panthers?
Ooh, that's tough. Look, I think the Cowboys are a good value. Um, they're coming along nicely. They've survived the Origin period. They don't seem to have plateaued. They seem to have a yeah. They seem to be plodding along nicely. Very little injury worries. Touch wood. Don't want to jinx them, but yeah, they're looking good. The Cowboys. That's the other one. Parramatta might just have turned around after that performance against Penrith, be 12-man Penrith side. The mental part of the game does wonders. So after that flat patch in the middle of the season, and I don't, I'm not happy with the Storm. I know you said they're going up, and I said to you Brisbane's going up, and then you said Brisbane's going down, and you were right. This week Brisbane had a flat game, very flat game, and the Storm had a good game. Yeah, I know, right? The worm. Yeah, but oh man, I can't give you a fourth team. Come back to me. I can't give you a fourth team yet.
Jace, who you got?
Well, obviously Panthers would be number one up there. I think number two is definitely the Cowboys. They've hit some really good form, and like Sid said, they're not plateauing. They're still improving, and they're still getting better, and they're putting on they're playing some really good footy. Another team I'd have to go with, as much as people are riding off the Storm, they're the Storm. You know what I mean? If they get their players back, missing Pappenhausen is a big loss for them, but I think they can give the comp a pretty good shake come semis time. And the last one, it's sort of a 50-50 for me. I have either the Rabbitohs or the Roosters. The Roosters are notorious for having a good run into the finals and building a lot of momentum. Like they're so good at doing that. So if the Rabbitohs can keep Latrell on the field and Latrell not lose his marbles and take someone's head off, then the Roosters could have the Rabbitohs could have a fair crack at it too.
Yeah, I've got the Panthers. Sorry, Jace. Do you reckon any other three teams you named have a realistic chance of beating the Panthers? I think it's Panthers to lose at the moment. That's sort of that far ahead.
Out of the teams that I've named, I think the only team that would have a good chance of beating them is honestly the Cowboys. They're playing really good footy, like expansive footy, and they're not afraid to throw it around.
Yeah. I'll go the Panthers, obviously. I think they're a class above at the moment, even though they can't beat the Eels. So hopefully we can get on a bit of a run and verse them come September. So that'll be nice. We've got the Cowboys as well. Cowboys are just a clear second team at the moment for mine. They're playing some remarkable footy. And to be honest, the Dogs were good. Dogs were really good on the weekend, and they found a way to win that game where a lot of this clubs lately have found a way to lose those games. The top clubs will have a game off, and they didn't manage to do that. The third one's a hard one because I was sort of tossing up the Storm and I'm tossing up the Sharks as well because I think it's going to be I'm a bit worried about the Storm because I said to Sid last week's video is that if we'll see the Storm, if they can put a number on the Titans like the old Storm would, then I have no doubt they're going to go on a run. But they didn't really do that. The Titans, they kept the Titans in the game for most of that game. And the scoreline for mine actually flattered the Storm last week. So on that, I'm going to put the Sharkies up there just because they've been playing some pretty hard, tough footy. And I don't think they've clicked yet. They've still got some room to move, but they've played some pretty good footy. So the fourth team, Jace mentioned them, and I think the Roosters for mine are starting to go on this run, and they're a scary football team, and they've got a hard run into September, so they're going to have to earn their way there. But I'm telling you now, if they make it, you do not want to verse them in finals footy. There is no way in the world there would be a team you'll want to verse, and I think out of all the teams at the moment in the 8, I think the Roosters are the team that can knock off the Panthers. Because they've got too many big name players for mine, like Teddy, Keary. Then you look at someone like Crichton and Tupanui if he comes back in time. They've just got some real quality players there that once they're in the big stage, they go to that next level. And Manu Manu's been freakish this year. So, Sid, you got a fourth team for us yet, or you still need to have a think on your rocking chair?
No, I've got a fourth team now. It's got to be Souths and Latrell. Latrell can he's one of those players that can carry the team. They grow an extra leg when he plays. They're all just so much better. Um, I like the Sharks, but then I remember they're the Sharks. Stuff them, so I'm going with Souths.
Well, I think that's pretty interesting there, boys, is that we've all got a pretty mixed, we've got a clear top two, I think, but it's actually pretty mixed after that. And I think that it makes this next 4 weeks so exciting. There's still top four spots up for grabs. There's still top eight spots up for grabs. It's not clear cut yet. Look at the run homes. Bold prediction for the weekend, boys. Either a game or a player or something. JC obviously needs his thinking time, so let you go first with this one. You got a bold one for us?
Ricky Stewart to somehow make a headline, even though he's been.
I can see that. I can see that happening. Actually, that's going to be. Sid, have you had some thinking time?
Yeah, I reckon the Cleary and LOI-less Panthers to beat the Storm on Thursday. I know it doesn't sound like a big one, but you know those are massive loss, and they're going to come up against really a much better team than the Raiders did. So if the Raiders game was a test, this is a real test, and I think Panthers will beat them, and I reckon Dragons will beat Raiders. We're not going to make the 8, but for some reason we've been playing well against them, and it's gonna make Ricky even more angry. So yeah.
Look, I want to come out and say a massive bold prediction, but it'll just go against what I said about the club a couple of minutes ago and the Titans beating Manly. I actually think they're a realistic chance of doing that because I think the Manly now sort of can't make the 8 and will fall off after everything that happened a few weeks ago with the jersey and the players stepping aside. But the one I'll go for the Roosters to beat the Cowboys 13 plus. I think the Roosters are really ticking along nicely, and I think Cowboys almost have second place sewn up. They'll pretty much finish second. They've got a superior points differential, and they might just find this a bit hard. I think it might be the second last game or the last game Roosters play at the SCG as well, so they'll be up for it. And they have a lot more to play for. They've got the Raiders hot in their tail. So I'll go the Roosters to beat the Cowboys 13 plus. Boys, that's it. We've done a good job. Give yourselves a pat on the back. Enjoy the run home, guys. We'll try and get another video out in the next couple of weeks. See if someone else makes some outlandish statements. It's rugby league. It never sleeps. I've got no doubt over the next few days there'll be another massive headline. Papa Liti, just stay at the Eels, bro. I got your back. Don't go the Tigers. We love you. And cheerio.